Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ellery. Today I'm here with our second episode of Chatting with the Icons, and I'm here with Jamal Milan. And Jamal is known internationally throughout the ballroom community. He has traveled throughout Europe and Asia and has even come to Taiwan before, opening workshops. And he is also one of the teachers for the actors on Pose and is known for so much more in categories such as Old Way, Face with Performance, and many other categories. And today we're just going to talk about ballroom history and performance, and also, of course, get some advice for our scene here in Taiwan. So welcome, Jamal Milan. Thank you so much for being here with me today and doing this.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. You know you're like family to me.
Thank you so much, Jamal. So let's get into it. I'd first like to just give you an opportunity to say for yourself how you came into doing Vogue. You've been voguing since 1988, since you were a teenager. So share with us a little bit about how you came into ballroom and then what it was like back then, because I think a lot of people are really curious about that.
Yeah, sure. Back in the 80s, when I came into the scene, people were telling me that it was a fashion show when you went to these balls. When I went, I was expecting to see a lot of fashion. And when I got there and I realized that it was a gay scene, I was like, oh, okay, this is different. So my friend must know that I'm gay. Okay, that's different. So then when I saw people walking face, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. All these guys are so attractive. I couldn't believe that they were so attractive and so masculine. Back then, a lot of the categories were all masculine based or very, very feminine based. So when they walked face, they walked with a masculine attitude and that kind of stature they had. And then when it came to the performance category, that's when I lost my mind. I said, that is what I want to learn how to do. I want to learn how to do that kind of dance. As a teenager, of course, you're very impressionable. And I had the opportunity to hang with those people that were doing things negative or hang with those people that were doing things positive. Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say that voguing saved my life. Voguing is what I wanted to focus on. So that kept me in the house instead of being out doing things that I should have no business doing at my age. Ballroom helped me with my confidence because I'm also a singer. But it also helped me to accept the fact that, number one, everyone's not going to think you're attractive. When you walk in face, you don't always win. And sometimes that can mess with you mentally. But it gave me tough skin. And it gave me the ability to have confidence in myself. Winning a trophy back then was like the world. Like you felt like you're accepted amongst your peers. It was almost like winning a Grammy. After my first trophy, I said to myself, oh, I want to do this. I want to be in ballroom. I've got to focus on this. I want to become somebody with a lot of trophies. I want to be adored. I want the fame.
What kinds of things do you think have changed a lot from then to now? I mean, obviously everything. I asked the same question to Niambi and she said, everything has changed. So what are some things though for you when it comes to perhaps performance or for different categories? Just again, so people can get a sense of how ballroom was different.
When it comes to performance, some of the things change is people are not disciplined. And when I say discipline, I think that when we were coming up, we wanted to learn, and we wanted to learn the history of things before, so that we could be good at it. Today, people don't want to learn the history. They think they know it all. They think that the older people, if they don't agree with what they're saying, they're jealous or they're hating. And it seems like because the world itself has become so social media based, and every word that you say can really, really affect people. Yeah. If you say something that a lot of people don't agree with now, you get canceled or you get looked at in a negative light. Ballroom was all about making somebody know it. So today you can't really do that because if you chop somebody, they think that you're throwing shade. They want to attack you. They don't accept the fact that they're not good enough. And that's one quality in ballroom we can't lose. Everybody can't win. Everybody can't be good. But that because it's a ballroom and it's a world that you can always come back again and try again and again, you shouldn't take things that seriously. I think some of the creativity has been lacking in a lot of categories. I think back then because we didn't have anything, right? We didn't have much to go on but pictures that forced us to be creative. Today, when you see people, because so much has been done, a lot of people, they take and they do something that somebody else has done and try to make it their own. So it's hard to be creative because a lot has been done. And I think that some people just don't do the work to be creative. You know, for me, ballroom was all about when you saw something written on the category, you had to bring it to life. Make the category come to life. And to me, that's how you make moments, and that's how you inspire other people. And that's what it's all about. Like, I don't get inspired when I see a lot of categories. I see, especially when it comes to voguing, because again, people don't want to learn. So they want to do their own thing. They want to be creative and don't want to learn the basics. And then when they ask you your opinion and you say to them, well, you should be doing this and you should be doing that, they smile, but then they walk away and they're like, oh, please, he's old. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's like, if you don't know the history, you're bound to repeat the mistakes. You know? And another thing, I don't see a lot of people practicing. Like, there are so many times that I see people do these fantastic videos. They're dancing, they're choreographed. It's beautiful. But when it comes to voguing, I don't never see those people duplicate those moves or those videos on the runway. So are you teaching? Are you choreographing? Or what are you doing? Like, I ask people, it's great to make these videos where a lot of people are voguing, but are you doing it to be a teacher, or are you really applying that to your performance? Because if that's the case, I don't see it on the floor. That's why when I teach people, I teach basic moves because, again, you have to know the history. And if you do the basics, you can build from there. But I see people come to my class and they'll be perfect in class, awesome. And then they'll walk a ball afterwards and they do nothing that I taught them in class. I don't understand that.
Do you think some of it comes down to, it's about sort of the muscle memory? Sort of how I see it is if they've learned through choreography and they do choreography, they've really learned this muscle memory of, I do these moves, and then
it's hard to
something in class, but it's having to sort of unlearn and then,
yes,
you know. Yeah, so do you see the main culprit of that issue being that people learn through choreography, or is that not so much the problem? The problem is something else. What exactly is it, do you think?
I think part of it is learning through choreography. I can honestly say I think that's part of it, because to your point, which is a very great point, I think that people get caught up in the muscle memory and they lose the feeling aspect of it. Because at the end of the day, it's a dance and it's a feeling. And I tell people when I teach them, even when I'm going to walk a ball, I'll give myself a blueprint of what I'm going to do. I'll say my catwalk. I have them in my catwalk. I'll spin, I'll dip. But it's the way you go about and you do it. Does that make sense? When you're voguing, there's always the unexpected, right? You may think you're going to lock this person and they turn around and you miss them. Or you may think you're going to fall into a dip and you spin too fast and you don't really hit it the way you're going to hit it. So, you know, that's why you can't really choreograph. It has to be part of a feeling. And when it's a feeling, you can tell when someone's voguing and it's choreographed, when they feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you see somebody when they're voguing, they might not know what they're doing during the battle, and then somebody can do something and that inspires them, and that person just goes off really quick. That's the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And that comes from the music, and it comes from this sort of thing that's within you that has to sort of come out, and we can see that through your movement.
Yes, a lot of freestyle. Like, it's good to do choreography, but then sometimes play the music and just freestyle with it and see what you come up with. Good and stuff. Get out that memory. Get out of that.
I want to get into, this is a very sort of random and specific question, but it's something I'm curious about. LSS, the idea of having an LSS at the beginning of the ball. Where did that come from, and what does it mean to get an LSS, and how should people view it? That's like 3 questions.
So the LSS came from a commentator by the name of Kenny Chanel, along with Kenny Felder. People were just sitting around waiting for the ball to happen. And he just grabbed the mic and just started, just saying things like, hey, everybody, how's it going? And to the beat. And next thing you know, he started chanting and they start calling people out. So they call out people who they know. And based on what you did when you came out, people started clapping and it began to get bigger and bigger as time went on. To me, I've always thought that LSSs was an honor, right? Because it's the commentator's way of letting the ballroom scene know that you are somebody who has done great things in ballroom. So to me, it was always a surprise when you got called off the LS. Today, when a commentator grabs the mic, everyone's looking at the commentator to make sure the commentator sees them in the building so the commentator can call them out, right? If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you should really let your talent stand on its own. But again, I think ballroom is a lot more political today than what it was back then. So I can understand why people do that, because, you know, it's a fight at the end of the day in ballroom, period, to be acknowledged. Because at the end of the day, it's about making somebody know it, right? So I always thought it was a privilege. So whenever somebody calls me out for LSS, you will rarely ever see me come out and just wave. I am going to put on a show, because a lot of times I might not even be walking that ball. So if I'm not walking that ball and people are saying, this is Jamal Milan, I want people to know this is why they call me Jamal Milan. This is why they're calling me out, because I'm somebody, I can do these amazing things. Here's a snippet of it. You know what I mean? There are a lot of times when I see people get called off the LSS and they do nothing. And it's like, okay, you're known for performance and you just come out and you do nothing.
Heard a lot of people say before, oh, if you're really good, then you don't need to really do anything for your LSS, because your talent and whatever speaks for itself, and you don't have anything to prove, so you can just come out and wave.
And to me, that I disagree with that, because LSS is like a red carpet for ballroom, right? Because I always tell people, the minute you step into that ball, you are a celebrity. You're a star. Like, because you're in the ballroom, you are a star. So when it comes to your LSS, which is our red carpet, don't you see celebrities dress really nice? You can't really do that with what you wear unless you're known for fashion, right? So if you're a Voguer and people know that you've won many things, but somebody calls you off the LSS and I don't know who you are. This is my first time at a ball. I don't know who you are. And you come out and you don't do anything. I'm going to turn to my friend and say, really? So now you're forcing me to do research on you. To me, LSS is a way to show people why you're a legend, why you are this face goddess, why you are so fantastic. If you feel that you're a fab in ballroom, the minute you walk in that door, you should know it's lights, camera, action. This is ballroom. This is Hollywood. I'm fab. Let's go.
Boom.
Boom. Mic drop.
Give us a little bit of history of the old way and why it's called the old way.
Back in the 80s, when voguing was really, and the houses were really starting to form and become really big, like in the, we'll say around 87, 88, they used to have the category pop, tip, and spin, and they used to have it performance. Now, back then in ballroom, anybody that had a ball had the privilege to create the category however way they wanted. You can call it whatever you wanted to. But back then, the only two names they had for Vogue was pop, dip, and spin, and performance. As time went on, somebody had a ball and they said, let's call it the new school, because there was a whole bunch of new people coming out, like in the 87s and 88s. Like, there was a whole bunch of us coming out because voguing became really, really big in the 80s. That's when it really like popped off. And as a way to separate this new batch of kids who are walking versus these older people who are walking in the 82s and the 85s, and to give them a way of respect, they had a category called the new school versus the old school. I was a part of the new school, right? And those people that were more known amongst the ballroom scene walked the old school. So then somebody had a ball and they said, instead of calling it the new school, well, I'm going to call it the old way, because this is how we did the old way of voguing. And now these new kids, they doing things a new kind of way, right? So when they had the ball, those same people would walk the old way and we would walk the new way. I was once a new way person, right? So then as more people, as we came into the 80s and the early 90s, more people began to come, like Stiffy and stuff like that. So because Stiffy had so much stretch, they were like, okay, well, this is a new way of voguing. We see all these people with this kind of stretch. This is a new way of voguing. So people started having balls and they would call it the new way. And then they kept it the old way. It just stuck. I hated that, but it just stuck. Because I love pop, dip, and spin. To me, that makes sense because you are popping, you're dipping, and you're spinning. And when I was trying to change the terminology from old way to pop, dip, and spin, it's starting to catch on, but people did not take to it because they like this term the old way. But I keep trying to tell people it was called pop, dip, and spin to begin with. Pop, dip, and spin sounds more appealing to the youth, right? If you're young, you don't want to do something called the old way. When I, as an individual performer, realized that the new way was a lot of stretch and I didn't have it, I went back to the old way because I knew that that was pop, dip, and spin. Not to throw a monkey wrench in the pot, but anybody today can call it category whatever you want. You don't have to just say it's butch, queen, and drags. You can say butch, queen, and drags with this or something like that. Like, there's no rules for a ballroom. That you can make your own category as long as you stay true to it. You can still be creative, but I always tell people stay true to the true ballroom history and to the category. Still be creative, but don't take it too far from its origin because then you begin to lose the integrity of it.
Yeah, sure. I think that's tricky. That's tricky because I think some people might feel like, oh, where's the line?
Right. That's a great question because, I always let people know I don't like people to feel like they're alone in ballroom because to me, as part of my job as an icon in ballroom is to educate. Other people feel differently, but I think that it's my job and my responsibility to always educate, to spread knowledge, and possibly joy and humor on the way. But if I'm supposed to be an icon, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for the questions. I'm here for you to reach out and ask the truth. Because I'm the type of person that when I tell you something, I recommend you go out and ask somebody else. There are some people that expect you to take their word for it. That's not me. Because no one, and I say this, I really mean this when I say this, no one knows everything when it comes to ballroom. No one knows everything. I try to put myself out there as a face in ballroom that people can always reach out to me for anything. If they want to send me clips on voguing, anything. There's no worse feeling than being a part of a community that you think is the community for you and you're still alone.
Yeah.
All
right. What is the role of the commentator and how important is the commentator?
The commentator is after the DJ. The commentator is the most important person in the ballroom because the commentator controls the ball. The commentator is the person who should uplift. And when I say that, it means a lot if somebody walks a ball and they get 10s, right? It means a lot if somebody walks the ball and they have the nerve to walk the ball, first of all. Second of all, if they walk the ball and they don't do well, and the commentator belittles you or makes you feel less than, then that can have an effect on you as a person, your day, your week. The words of a commentator can be very, very powerful. When you say things, they think it as the truth. And as a commentator, you have to understand that power because it's a great power. Yeah. And when you hear the saying, with great power comes great responsibility, it's true. Your role as a commentator is very, very, very important. I think it's a hard job. I give them a lot of credit because you're dealing with a lot. You're dealing with the promoters yelling in your ear, make the category faster. Yeah. You're talking too long versus the ballroom patrons, call me out for LSS versus, you're throwing shade at me. You don't see me standing over here. That it's a lot. Yeah. But I would say people who are young commentators in the scene, I would say, try to be as truthful as you can. Try to have as much integrity as you can. And as a commentator, try to uplift. You see the judges judging. You know if judges are being shady. You know if you can say something. You have the right to say something. Now, you may not have the right to move them, but you have the right to call them out if they're being shady. You know what fair is as a commentator. Right. You might not be able to overturn it, but you can say, hey, you guys are being unfair. As a commentator, and I have to say this, it's your job to make sure you let people know what the heck is going on. So if there's a category, let's say, for example, it's facial performance. It is your job as a commentator to read that category to everybody before it happens, tell them what it is, and let the ball happen. Because as a judge, you forget. right? And you're not looking at the flyer. So as a commentator, it is your job to guide the judges and say, the category is one way in all red. So that the judges know it's this. So that the judges know, if you come down in black, I shouldn't give you a 10. Because part of it is the judge's fault for not paying attention, but it's also the commentator's fault as well. Because the judges are depending on you. I'm here to judge. They might not have a flyer sheet on my desk to tell me what the category is. And people get mad at judges when they let things go by, but you have to really pay attention. The judges may have let that go by because no one told. It's a lot going on up here. I'm supposed to judge a ball. There's no flyer to tell me. All I see is the order of the categories. It doesn't tell me it's supposed to be in all red. It just tells me runway. So as you as a commentator, you have to guide the judges and tell them, judges, we're looking for this. And not just once. You have to keep saying it, right? Because it could be 25 people walk. The first people walk in red because you were saying that. They got their 10s, but you stopped saying it. And now people are coming in black and the judges forget, right? Because it could happen. And now people are getting through with 10s. And now you have people on the sidelines screaming because their house member wants to come back because they got it. You know what I mean? So a lot of things can be alleviated if the commentator leads the way properly.
Got it. So how about other things? Like, for example, what about if someone is offbeat? They're not listening to the music and they are offbeat or they dip offbeat and the judges give them 10s. At that point, can a commentator, like how far does that go? Can they override 10s across the board?
I don't think a commentator can override what a judge does. A commentator can point out to the judges what just happened. Okay, no, y'all gave them 10s. I don't know what had just happened, but y'all, that person's performance, I don't think deserved it, but I'm not judging. And then the commentator should then turn around and say to them, when you are voguing, hit the beats. Like, you're not really making that person who just got finished voguing feel bad because you already acknowledge the fact that they've already been judged, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you're not saying that they were horrible. You're saying that was not 10. Like, you could say, judges, y'all trying it or something like that. You know what I mean? And then turn around to the audience and say, sweetheart, that was cute, but the next time y'all get up there, these judges should be on it because judges, y'all know you should be hitting the beat. Like, you're an educator as a commentator too. You have to educate. They have the ability to say to a judge, you're not judging appropriately. They have the right to say that because they see what's going on.
But I really want to get to face with performance because this is one of your big categories. And you did this challenge, which everybody who's watching should go view the video. It's online. I'll have a link to it below. So tell us a little bit about face with performance. What is this category? I've never had it in Taiwan, and a lot of people don't maybe know about it.
I thought it was kind of boring to walk face after a while, just standing there. And I like to dance. So when I saw a face with performance, I was like, okay, so this is a dance that you have to vogue. You have to focus around your face. You have to do moves that are around your face. And to walk the category, you had to have face and you had to be able to vogue. No one should be voguing femme face of performance because I don't think no one's out there teaching that. If you're boxing your face, selling your face. You can do a lot of flowy moves, like stuff like this is vogue femme at the end of the day, right? It's really a vogue femme moves, but the old way is more solid, right? Yeah. So if you're mixing your vogue femme moves with your face of performance, just think flowy type, but it has to always be precision. Like vogue in itself is a bunch of precise movements. Femme changes it to precise feminine movements. It's just that because you're so feminine, you can do other things, but voguing as a whole started from doing precise movements. It was straight, because you were doing poses. I think that sometimes when people vogue, that translation gets lost because they are so eager to be creative and to come up with these signature moves, and that's fantastic, but you can't lose the origin of what voguing itself really is.
Yeah. So people who are dancing Vogue Femme, they need to remember that. They need to keep that in mind.
Yes, you're still executing precision movements. Mm-hmm. It's just not as hard as the old way, but you should still, in your Vogue Femme, you should still be precise. You should still.
For your advice for the kids here coming up in the scene, they're maybe learning one category, they're maybe doing Vogue Femme, or maybe they're doing Old Way or whatever. Do you think it's better to really perfect and master your craft and do the best you can at one category? Or do you think it's better to let yourself be distracted and go over here and, learn old way, even though your Vogue Femme still could be better?
Yeah, I'm going to say no to that. Focus on one thing at a time, because there's nothing worse than being the jack of all trades, but a master of none. So I know a lot of people, when they come to ballroom, you can get excited. You can see a lot of things that you want to do. And that's great. But with all things, you have to find your way. You have to find your way, what you're good at. Everybody's not good at everything. Although we may want to be, we're not. So if you find that you're doing Vogue Femme, focus on Vogue Femme. Now, say, for example, you're interested in Owe. I would go to an Owe class and try, because you may realize that Vogue Femme is what you thought you wanted to do, but when you did Owe, your body felt more comfortable doing that. I've had a lot of people tell me, I do a lot of Vogue Femme, but when I took your Owe class, I'm realizing that my body is more geared towards the Owe. Maybe I'm going to change. And that's fine. Make that choice. Don't keep going back and forth, because you're never going to get good at anything if you're distracted by everything else. Now, you can do two different things. Let's just say, for example, you have a love for Vogue Femme, but you're also good at runway. In my mind, because they're both different categories, you can do both, meaning you can set aside an hour or two to focus on your Vogue Femme, because that's from a performance aspect. But if you're also good at another category, then I would say do that as well. Because when I was coming up in ballroom, the baddest bitch was to me, the baddest bitch was the person that walked out that ball with the most trophies. So you could walk in there, you could walk face, you could walk realness, and you could walk the old way. And to me, I wanted to be you, because you're a bad person that can walk 3 different categories in one night and win a trophy. Like, that was a huge deal. And I always think that that's a huge deal when I see people today walk multiple categories and do well. I'm like, that's what ballroom's about. It's about, experiencing different new things, but being good at it. Yeah. Right? It's like, so when you walk a category, I tell people, only walk your category if you think you're going to win. If you're walking just to get tens, what are you walking for? Like, we walk these balls because we want to win. When people say, oh, I'm just walking to have fun, they say that after about 5 years of never winning and just getting tens. Either you're going to get sick and tired of it, you're going to try to get better, or you're going to stop walking. Because it's just like playing the lotto. If you don't win it, what are you doing it for at the end of the day, right? You want to at least get better. If you keep just getting tens, you're never making it to the last battle. You're doing it for fun. Like, are you like, what are you really doing it for? And then if you're in a house, the house is going to look at you like, hey, we want you here to bring trophies.
Right.
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 So.
Yeah. All right. And then the last thing, when you came to Taiwan, what did you make of the scene overall here? And what would you like to see more of or less of?
I really, really love the scene in Taiwan. I will say I would want to see less of Sex Siren for right now, because when we were there, it was a big misunderstanding with the Sex Siren category that we had. And I don't want to see that repeated until Taiwan has really understood, because I don't want that category to be aired or to be seen by somebody and then people think of Taiwan in a negative light. That's why I say that.
Can you remind everybody what exactly that was? What happened?
Sure. So the category was Team Sex Siren, and a lot of teams were coming out and they were doing things that were borderline provocative, and some people took offense to it. One of the judges took offense to it. And when I say provocative, I mean, I think that there's a very thin line with being sexy and tempting versus doing something that can be considered soft pornography. And when I say that, you can be sexy with somebody by biting your lip. You can touch yourself. You can touch your mate, right? But I think there was some things going on. I think, if I remember correctly, some chocolate was involved and people were licking chocolate. And then, depending on where people's minds are, when you see chocolate, you can think of all kinds of things, right, on people's body. And when I believe there was some type of grinding and gyrating and you know, bodies were intertwined, and that's great. That can be done too. It's just in how you do it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people were taken back because it was a new category, right? Because it was said to the beginning, it was a new category. And I think people were taken back because they didn't expect the teams to be doing that much with one another. You want to tempt. You don't want people to actually get excited in their, you know, it's all about tempting.
Yeah.
And so I would say I would not want to see that from Taiwan until
we're on our way to getting people. I think it is an issue of educating, and we had another Kiki Ball where, you know, one of the judges got on the mic and really explained more in detail what this category is, what the judges are looking for, what they're not looking for. And I think as we have more balls and the judges are able to do that, that's maybe going to help. Yeah. And hopefully what you've shared with us as well about that.
Yeah, perfect. What I would like to see you guys continue would be, I love the sportsmanship. I love to see good sportsmanship. And there was some intense battles. To see people look genuinely happy, just to get tens, genuinely happy for the accolades they received from the audience. That was beautiful to see. I love to see the talent and determination on the floor. Even, see, we don't have a lot of kids that walk balls in America.
Right.
And just to see the acceptance of children in the ballroom scene and doing well. Like, it wasn't a situation where they were just, you know, mediocre. Oh, he's a little kid. No, they were really, really good. I know you're probably saying to yourself, my God, how does he remember this off the top of his head? Because I had such a great time in Taiwan. Like, I have been around the world. I have been to a lot of balls. And it's a couple of places. I'm not going to mention names because I want people to feel, you know, their place is not as good. But it's a couple of places that touch my heart, that really mean a lot, that I really will look forward to going to again. And Taiwan is definitely one of them. Like I said that to everybody throughout my time in Asia, when everybody asked me, well, what place was better, Taiwan, Korea, or Japan? Like Taiwan, when it came to Taiwan, like it was just the warmth and the friendliness. For me, it's something when you go out of town and you're more appreciated and adored by people who don't know you than you are in your homeland. And to me, that means a lot. That resonates a lot. And it kind of sort of fuels me to continue to be the icon that I am, you know? When I see that people are appreciative, when I do these challenges and people do them, and I get these messages that people say, oh my God, it really, really touched me. Like, things like that really, really matter. So as long as Taiwan keeps being humble, keeps their good sportsmanship up, and keeps the integrity, Taiwan is a ballroom scene that is far away on the other side of the world. People are watching, and people see the lives. I am an avid fan of all Ballroom International. When I see these lives, I'm there. I'm on all the balls. So if you have a ball in Taiwan, it could even be a Kiki ball, and the ball gets out, people are going to say things. They're going to say things like, no, they're doing it wrong. Or no, they're not respecting this category. Or no, this is not the way it should be. And what I don't want to happen is Taiwan to feel, or Asia in general, to feel that because they're so far away, they can do what they want. They don't have to respect ballroom, because at the end of the day, you're really hurting ballroom at the end of the day. And then what could happen is people could say, oh, I don't want to go to Asia because they don't do things the right way, so I'm never going to go there. And you don't want that to happen, right? Because you want it to be all-inclusive. You want people to come to your communities, to support your communities, and you want to show them that you are inclusive, because that's what it's all about. LGBTQ is to be inclusive at the end of the day.
So well said. Awesome. Where can people find you, Jamal, online, following you, or any websites or anything else?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at icon Jamal Milan. I just reopened up my music page because I'm doing a lot musically. I just signed on with this new record label, so I have a lot of responsibilities there. So I'm going to be releasing new music and doing features. So I'm very excited to share that. And that Instagram page is at Shane TGV. You can always reach out to me. You can send me videos of yourself. It doesn't matter what category you walk, face, runway, whatever. I'm always, always, always here to help, because whatever I can do to give back the generosity that you guys have showed me is well deserved.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. We really do appreciate it. We really, really do. To me, why I wanted to do this too was sort of what you were saying about we want the scene to be the best it can be, and we don't want people to look at Asia and go, ugh, what are they doing, And so I think that it's important that, now with COVID, we don't have any connection to the legends and to the icons. And to me, that it's very important to have that because we need to protect the culture. And we need to be the best it can be and do things right and all of that stuff and understand history and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.
This was so much fun.
This was a great fun. It was a wonderful conversation. Bye.
Bye, Taiwan. I love you.